Hi, I'm Fred Joyal, and I'm here today with Shannon Richkowski. She is the Director of Hygiene Mastery, which is a division of Fortune Management. And we're going to be talking about how your hygiene program sucks, S.U.C.K.S. There's going to be a reason why we use that sort of provocative terminology, and Shannon's going to explain that. Shannon, welcome to the show, the webinar, the program.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for having me.
So how long have you been involved in the dental world?
Oh my gosh, do I dare say close to 30 years?
Oh my gosh, that's astounding. Well, it hasn't worn you down like it has the rest of us.
I don't know. There's a lot of makeup on here right now.
Question, like, I get a lot of makeup on too, and it's not helping that much. But you started in hygiene yourself.
Yeah.
But now, how long has Hygiene Mastery been going on as a business?
The last decade, so 10 years. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary now.
That is exciting. And this is, right now, it's the largest hygiene training program in the country, isn't it?
That's what I keep being told over and over and over by all the dental industry experts.
Well, I mean, you've been around for 10 years and you're working hard at it, and you're part of Fortune, which is a nationwide practice management company. So there are franchisees or coaches all over the country that are utilizing you, and so you're going around and teaching their dentists how to do this very specific thing, this very specific system. And I've got a bunch of questions about the importance of hygiene, the misconceptions people have about why it's important, how it works, what a hygienist should be doing, all of that stuff. But let's break down this acronym, this crude little acronym that we've come up with. Why does most people's hygiene programs suck?
Well, it sucks. There's an S on it.
Well, that's it. See, I'd put the S on the end, but then grammatically it would be wrong, so I didn't know what to do.
Well, first of all, we're using that acronym because it's obviously catching people's attention. And as you know, in dentistry, sometimes it's hard to get us dental people to pay attention to certain things. And I mean, let's face it, as hygienists, we are sucking all day long. We are sucking a lot of spit out of people's mouths. Yeah. But we definitely have, each letter does stand for a concept that we have found in Hygiene Mastery can make a huge impact on the practice. So the S stands for service mix. One thing that's going on in hygiene is we highly underutilize this giant toolbox of services that hygienists can offer to patients. We tend to stick with one, which is the prophy. Yeah. And so when you expand that service mix, it can have a dramatic difference in the patient care and the health of the practice. And then the U stands for utilizing technology. Just like we tend to underutilize our service mix in our toolbox, we also tend to underutilize the amazing technology that we have today. Everything from digital dentistry, the iTero scanner, advanced oral cancer screening devices, lasers. We're up to about 42 states that hygienists can use a laser. And
so it's that high at that point. Yeah, because that's obviously revolutionary in perio treatment.
It is. And you know that not because a consultant or a coach says that, or somebody who sells a laser. If you go ask hygienists that are boots on the ground working on patients, if you ask a laser hygienist, would you ever want to practice again without your laser? Every single one of them will tell you, I never want to practice without a laser again.
Fascinating. Yeah, and I absolutely believe it. Yeah, the impact is so profound on the patient. And it's, underutilized, certainly. So C, what's C?
C is communication. Okay. How we communicate with ourselves, our colleagues, our patients, what all the different layers of communication, and really looking at communication from not how I want to communicate as a hygienist, but how I need to become a chameleon and be more like my patient and communicate the way my patient wants to receive the communication.
So the C is communicate like a chameleon. Very
yes.
Good. Yes. Yeah. K.
KPIs. Many hygienists and doctors as well, we forget how important our key performance indicators are. In dentistry, we tend to forget that there are aspects that we should be monitoring. We should be monitoring ourselves and our results so that we know if we're getting what we want.
Yes. Key performance indicators, KPIs. Yes. And of course, the final S.
Final S is selling. And I know that's that's almost as bad as saying suck, right?
Maybe worse.
Yeah, maybe worse. However, if you don't mind me taking a quote out of a very important book, which is known as Becoming Remarkable. This is a quote that has stuck with me forever, made by yourself, Red Joyal. It says, if you're reluctant to develop your sales skills, then I adamantly maintain that you are doing your patients a disservice. And in Hygiene Mastery, we have truly taken that on and helped hygienists from East Coast to West Coast, all through the country, understand that you can sell and be extremely professional, and it's needed in this industry, because if we are not able to sell what we have to offer, our patients are going to, they're going to go without.
And so you have a ton of experience chair side, and so how that certainly has influenced Hygiene Mastery. What are the dimensions of Hygiene Mastery as a service?
Give me a little bit more about what you're asking for there.
You're going into the practice, you're training the hygienist, you're bringing in systems. Give me some of those, the aspects of Hygiene Mastery that people can expect.
Well, first of all, because we are hygienists, we do talk hygiene language. And so working with the hygienist one-on-one, we kind of have an instant in there. We understand what it's like to be with them or be them. We understand the true obstacles that they have, and we give them real solutions, everyday real solutions to help that. All the time, doctors tell us, I've been telling my hygienist the same thing for years, and then a hygienist can come in and we say it, and all of a sudden it becomes real. Working with them one-on-one is exceptionally important. It is an in-office training. We come to the office. We work with the entire team. One of the things that we notice is that the hygienist is impacting every department. They're impacting the restorative department, the administrative team, and so we also work with everybody involved on the team. Sometimes we glove up and we're doing clinical training depending on if it's, maybe it's laser training and we're doing hands-on laser certification. Sometimes it's advanced oral cancer screening training. Sometimes it's teaching them how to understand the business of hygiene. Communication obviously was a big part that we talked about earlier. We do a lot of communication training. It's interesting. We're not going in to tell them how to be a better or how to do hygiene. Our hygienists know that. They come out of school knowing how to do their services. It's teaching them all the things that they don't teach us in school. And I can vouch for that because I came out of hygiene school and nobody explained to me that I was going to be walking into a business and running a business. And the hygienists, they're running about a third of the practice. It is a business within a business, and they don't necessarily have the training to do that.
And so the first S is the service mix. So give a little more detail on some of those things. We talked about lasers, but there is so much more than prophies that you can do, and that's what's not taught, a lot of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they do. They teach you how to take x-rays. They teach you how to do sealants. What they don't teach you is, okay, you're going to go out in the world and you have to be able to sell these services. Because as you and I both know, outside of the realm of a prophy, most insurance companies are not offering benefits on those sorts of services. So you can't just tell a patient, okay, I'd like to do 3 sealants in your mouth. Like in hygiene school, you can do that. I'm going to get my sealant credentials. You're going to do sealants and we're going to be happy. In the real world, we have to be able to enroll that. We have to be able to attach value to that. And what happens is, right now what I see is most of the dental offices are operating their business model or the hygiene business off of prophies. So we're structuring our entire business around providing a prophy. You and I both know that it takes a lot more than a prophy these days to keep people healthy. And we've got to be brave enough to dive into that service mix and be willing to have the conversation with the patient that there's all these other things that I can be doing for you, and give them the option to determine if it's something they want or not.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you what are some of the common misconceptions that practices have about hygiene. And obviously the first one is that it's just about pro fees.
Yeah, yeah. We do a whole seminar around, it's called Going Beyond the Pro Fee. And really, you know, looking behind the curtain, I consider the pro fee as, that's the service that gets them in front of me. I'm glad we have pro fees. Pro fees are needed, and it's what patients want. So you've got to be able to, we know we've got to put the lens that the patient wants to look through. They want their cleaning, and we obviously want to give that to them. And there's so many more things that we can do to help keep them healthy. So going beyond the pro fee is critical. One, first and foremost, it's critical if you're going to take the very best care of the patient. If under your care, that patient's going to maintain a healthy oral health and health, the mouth is connected to the body, so we immediately know it's impacting total health as well. If we're going to achieve taking the very best care of the patients, we have to go beyond the pro fee. And if we're going to have a healthy practice, we're going to have to go beyond the pro fee.
Yeah. So that's really part two, is how much hygiene drives the business. And so the first question I want to talk about that, because I think the underutilization of hygiene to you leads directly to this idea of what's the expectation of that hygienist, and even how many hygienists there should be. So let's talk about something as basic as, how many hygienists should there be for every dentist?
Well, if I could wave my magic wand, it would be 2 hygienists for every 1 doctor. And there's a few points that we should make note of. There are some states that's all you're allowed to. There's actually certain states that have laws. Their state board has actually declared you can only have up to 2 hygienists per doctor. So there is that, and I do think that's ideal.
That seems weirdly meddlesome.
Yes, when I first got into this business, I actually had an office that we needed to have 3 hygienists per 1 doctor in a very unique situation. And I got corrected very quick in that particular state. It actually was not allowed. So now I'm very good about researching and knowing what I'm getting into.
Wow.
Two hygienists per doctor works very nicely. And I think it's also important to recognize that on occasion, you can have a 3rd hygienist if you have an extremely strong perio program, because you can, scheduling correctly, you can schedule an entire column of hygiene that's not due for exams. But if we're expecting doctor exams, then I like 2 hygienists per doctor.
So, but there's a lot of practices with 1 hygienist per doctor.
Yes, there is, and that's that helps keep hygiene mastery in business, because we can help overcome that. It's scheduling correctly. It's setting up your service mix correctly. It's teaching the hygienist how to provide a silver platter exam handoff to the doctor so we can be more efficient and more effective. And it's giving the doctor confidence that they're going to have what they need when they walk into the exam, so the exams aren't taking 15, 20 minutes.
So you can bring them to the point where that 2 hygienists are valuable, because I mean, my understanding from the business side is hygiene is driving production. If you're doing the final S, if you're selling, because just as you have credibility with hygienists, the hygienists have a tremendous amount of credibility. I talk about this in my books as well, about the power the hygienist has to influence the patient. But an enormous amount of the trust in the practice is with you, that relationship with that hygienist that the patient has.
Yes, for two primary reasons. One is because we see them the most often, and we spend the most time with them. So when you're spending time with somebody over and over again, there's relationship that forms. So there is that. And the second reason, which a lot of people overlook, is if we bring attention to the patient, area of concern. If I bring area of concern, the tooth on the lower right, and I take a picture of it and show them what I'm seeing, the patient does not perceive that I have something to gain by recommending treatment. But when if the doctor comes in and I haven't noticed it first and the doctor brings it up, we've all heard these, it's supposed to be funny, but none of us feel good when it's said. When the patient makes a comment about, oh, are you getting a new car this year? And we kind of all laugh it off. They don't say that to the hygienist, because there is not this perception that we have anything to gain from making the recommendation. And so if the hygienist is able to identify the concern and bring that to the doctor's attention, and now the doctor is agreeing with us or collaborating with us on the final diagnosis, then the patient trusts the decision or the recommendation at a higher level than if it's just one provider, and if that one provider is somebody who they perceive has something to gain from it.
Yes, and if the doctor really is smart, he or she is going to reinforce that trust. He's going to come in and say, "You're absolutely right, Shannon. I'm glad you picked that up."
Yep.
Now the patient goes, "Oh yeah, Shannon, she's my advocate." Because like you say, there's no profit in it for you to recommend it. It's about care. The
Right.
dentist it's a lot harder gap to jump as the dentist. So really important. So give me an idea of how you would transform a practice. You walk in there and how does it start?
Well, at first it starts with identifying where the opportunities are, because as you know, there's a lot of different types of practices out there. You have a practice that may not even have hired hygienists yet. Maybe the doctors were doing all the prophies, all the way to a practice that has all the technology under the sun and, gorgeous top of the line practice. So the first thing is we need to see where they are, identify where they're at, and really understand from the doctors what kind of practice they want to have. What is their vision around the practice, and what does success look like for them? Once that's identified, then we work directly with the hygiene team to come up with those goals, establishing a true why. Why do we want to build a fluoride program? Why do we want to establish this co-discovery process like you and I just mentioned? So we work very hard with establishing the why, because when the why is big enough, then they can get through the action steps, because it's work. It's going to take work to transform. After we put in our action steps, our systems, our processes, then the accountability and monitoring happens. So we know that in order to create change, we've got to be very committed to the accountability and monitoring so that we know if we're getting what we want.
Yes, and so the doctor has to be committed, and you have to perform. But you're capable of actually transforming a practice, I think, with from the hygiene up. I think that the results are there. What's the response? The dentists generally go, "I get it now. I get that how much hygiene drives it," or is that a gradual comprehension?
I think we have different populations of doctors that come to us. We have some doctors that come to us that already get it. They already know. They've ran the numbers themselves. They've read your book. They've read other books, and they come to us with, "Hey, I know that there's this that needs to be done. I am busy running the practice. I'm busy doing restorative. I want to bring in outside support," and they're already there. They just need somebody to come in and do the training and handle the monitoring and the accountability. So they're outsourcing it, right? Then there's other doctors that they don't know. They don't even know what they don't know. They don't know what a hygienist on average should be producing. They don't even know that for every $1 in hygiene, $2 to $3 should be coming out of restorative. They don't even know the key performance indicators or what is possible. So it just kind of, we get a very wide variety of doctors that come to us.
Yeah, so you're running a diagnostic on them, basically.
Yeah.
And to see where they're at and to see which of those steps need to be emphasized. Yeah, as you say, if they don't get any of the KPIs, there's no point in ignoring that. You have to face it and say, this is what should happen. And because you're out there doing it with hundreds and hundreds of practices, those numbers are meaningful. You say this is the standard that you should be trying to achieve, right? And that's I think that's part of the power of hygiene mastery, is so many results for so long with so many practices, that those KPIs are an easy goal to say, look, we're not creating something impossible for you to achieve here. We'll achieve this in a fairly short period of time if you do these things.
I mean, it does require work, but it's really not that hard. It really isn't. I mean, when you are committed to taking the very best care of the patient, and you train the hygienist on their communication skills, and you train them on the service mix that we can offer, patients say yes to it. Patients want to be healthy. And it's just being brave enough to do that. Another thing about the doctors that come to us, it's really interesting. Many of them come to us and say, so my doctor friend down the road said that I should call you. I don't really know what you do, but he said just get you in here and don't think about it. So sometimes they don't even know. They've just been told to call us and life will be good.
Yes, send over the magician. Yes.
One thing that I think is important, because I know some hygienists will be watching this video, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge them. We don't work with very many hygienists that don't want to do this. Once they realize that this is about taking the very best care of the patient, the beauty is, yes, we can create profitability. That's going to happen. And it all starts from taking the very best care of the patient. And so much of what we're teaching, they want it because they weren't taught it. They know that they're responsible for co-discovering. They know that they bring value in looking for treatment. But that's not what's focused on in hygiene school for us. So we come out, we're expected to be business leaders. We really don't have business leader education. We're expected to know KPIs. There's no course that teaches us about key performance indicators. And we're expected to be high-level co-diagnosers. Yet we're really not taught that. We're not taught how to use most of the technology that's available to us in the offices. And so when we come in, it's that next level training. It's the training that we need in order to have a successful hygiene business.
Yeah, and I, as you know, I'm a huge advocate that hygienist has to be really comfortable selling dentistry. And when they realize the impact that they can have, that it's their professional responsibility, but also when they help that person, when they do deep scaling, or they do laser perio treatment, that patient is significantly better. And the next time they see them, they're looking at the patient, and the patient is in considerably better oral health and is appreciating it. And it can be an incredibly satisfying job when you do this your way, as you're saying, rather than just, it's a series of prophies and sterilize the trays and punch the clock,
I think that's when you start to see the high burnout rate. And also it's extremely satisfying when you get to play such a key role in the practice. When you're able to partner with the doctor and you see the practice growing based on your contribution and what you're able to generate, not only from the hygiene business side, but what you're generating from the restorative side. Because as we mentioned earlier, for every $1 on, general rule of thumb is for every $1 of treatment that I'm providing, I can create $2 to $3 in restorative. And there is nothing, to me, my opinion, nothing more. I gain so much satisfaction when the patient has a smile of their dreams. When you see somebody in the dental chair that picks up a mirror and can smile with confidence, and they're in tears. I mean, it changes everything. It's so much bigger than a prophy. We to go beyond the prophy, it's astonishing.
Well, and to be able to say to patients, I know you're thinking about veneers, or I know you're thinking about Invisalign or something like that. I have to tell you, the patients that I've had that have done this, it changes their lives. It transforms how they feel about themselves. It makes it's so gratifying for me when they do this thing for themselves, that I encourage you to do it. Find a way to do it. I mean, when you realize that you're not selling in a hard sell way, you're communicating in the most compassionate way a profound benefit to these people. And that's the job hygienists get to do on a regular basis. That's why I think it's just a terrific profession. And I think it is the one of the drivers of practice success. If it's not working, I mean, can a practice work with really thrive with a subpar hygiene department?
I would be challenged to say yes. I think that short term, you might be able to, very, very short term, but it's not going to last. You're going to go down very quickly. Because what will happen is you may attract a lot of volume, and you've got the front door open, and maybe you're bringing in a lot of volume, but what you're going to have to do is keep paying for new patients, because the back door is going to remain open. So, you know, and that is a model. There are some dental offices that are fine with, we'll bring in all the volume through the front door. We don't care how many are going out the back door because we'll just keep bringing in more volume through the front. I don't think that's very sustainable. And it's a lot. Why would you, that's working harder instead of smarter.
Yeah, and it's certainly not building up a remarkably happy patient base.
No.
And it's certainly a more challenging position to work in and practice to work in when you don't get that job satisfaction that's so easy to get in this career.
Yeah, I think that you would see even turnover in the practice. So not only would you you would have to bring in so many more new patients, you'd constantly be looking for new team members as well.
So what's your ideal hygienist? What is she like? Can you and there's probably 2 or 3 types, but I feel like there's more like 2 types at the most.
I would say that he or she, and I'm going to emphasize he because we got a lot more male hygienists coming out. And I keep wanting more. We need more male hygienists, so I'm advocating for that. I would say the ideal one, first and foremost, they have a mindset of CANI. And in Fortune and Hygiene Mastery, we teach CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. So if you have that, anything is possible. If you keep your mind so open to constant and never-ending improvement, it's limitless. I mean, there is no yeah, but there is no closed doors. So a CANI attitude or a CANI mindset would be one. And I would say the next one is being brave. Being brave enough to have the conversations with the patients. Being brave enough to say, your insurance is not going to offer you assistance with this. And if you knew what I knew about how valuable this is, you would still have it done. It's being brave enough to, or care enough to be uncomfortable and have the conversations that the patients need to hear.
But I really like the word brave, and it's interesting that you brought it up because I haven't really heard it applied, but that's really what it is it's you have to overcome that reluctance to speak up. And it takes a certain amount of boldness, a certain amount of courage to speak up rather than just go, I'm not going to bring it up. It's the easier path to not bring stuff up.
Oh, absolutely. And we tend to not. I mean, I will defend the hygienist. We can be told no 10 times and come 11 times and we're like, I'm not going to ask on the 11th patient, but it's the 11th patient that says, yeah, I like that idea. That level of prevention is right for me. I want to do that. So it's really being okay with people saying no and still being brave enough with the next patient.
Well, this has really been a tremendously insightful view of this part of the dental practice. And I think hygiene mastery is such an essential part of a practice's success. The idea of hygiene mastery, but certainly your business and certainly as part of Fortune Management's mix of services, hygiene is a tremendous addition to it. So you've done remarkable work with this division and are having a great impact. And I think it's only going to expand more and more. And so how do people get involved in hygiene mastery? What's the pathway?
Well, we have coaches all over the country. And the easiest way is they can go to our website, hygienemastery.com. There's a very simple button, click on, and it'll come right to our email address and we'll have your information, can reach out. So that's the easiest way. We also can provide information at the end of the webinar with a direct phone number that they can call. I invite anybody listening to go check out our Facebook page, Hygiene Mastery on Facebook. You'll get to see all the teams that we're working with, the things that we're out there doing in the offices. It's a great way to get to know us better through the people we're working with.
Terrific. Yeah. So Shannon Richkowski, thank you so much. She's the Director of Hygiene Mastery, a division of Fortune Management, and obviously quite brilliant and experienced. And if you're lucky, you're going to get to work with Hygiene Mastery. So thank you, Shannon. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Fred.